So, we're in the Snowden Cemetery, which lies under the castle, which is the third of the cemeteries at the top of the town. We've seen the Old Town Cemetery, the medieval one with the higgledy-piggledy bits. We've seen the Valley Cemetery, which had the pyramid and the statues. This is the new one, the Snowden Cemetery, but it actually has the oldest burial. Quite interesting. So this individual here is an unnamed Dominican friar. He was discovered in archaeological excavations during the redevelopment of the Dominican Black Friars Priory. That's a bit complicated to say, but that was founded in the 13th century and then destroyed during the Reformation in 1560. There's a block of flats there now, and this individual was recovered. So we had to rebury him, and we buried him again with a full Catholic Mass with his Dominican brothers. Now the interesting thing, if that wasn't interesting enough, is that this individual was alive during the Wars of Independence. Now we know that Robert the Bruce and Edward I stayed in the Dominican Priory. And we know that this individual was in Stirling potentially during the Wars of Independence and the Battle of Bannockburn. So there is a good possibility that this is one of the only individuals that has witnessed Stirling Bridge, the siege of Stirling Castle with the War Wolf, that giant trebuchet, and the Battle of Bannockburn. And this individual could have witnessed it all. He's an absolutely unique individual, and thus had to be reburied with full respect. Hello again. Now there's been a royal park around Stirling Castle since the 12th century, and famously Stirling's Royal Park is the oldest and best preserved in Scotland. Now the Royal Park is full of farms, it's where jousting takes place, it's where hunting takes place, it's a private space for the King and the royal family. The feature behind me is known as the King's Knot. It's the main, biggest, best surviving element of the Royal Park. It's been described as Scotland's finest lost garden. It's an elaborate designed garden to celebrate the coronation of Charles I in the 17th century. The King's Knot, though, is the last feature here. There's actually something older here. There was something here in the 14th century which is described as a round table. Now that is a link to Arthur. Now I don't mean King Arthur of legend, or rather I do mean King Arthur of legend, because the Stuart royal family, the kings and queens of Stirling, wanted to draw attention to the ancient location that Stirling was, and they supported the fiction that Stirling was an Arthurian castle named Snowden, and there was a round table below us which was King Arthur's round table, and that feature, the round table, is what lies under the King's Knot. It's probably a prehistoric burial mound, but certainly whenever jousting was held here, attention was drawn to Stirling's Arthurian connections, and it is well worth a visit. So we're just off the castle esplanade at the moment, and we can, in the distance, we can just see the Stirling Bridge battlefield. That's where the rugby pitch is, and above that you can see Dominican, and remember that was Dún Maethy, the fort of the Maethy. They're the tribe that challenged the Romans. Then just to my right you can make out Stirling Old Bridge. Now that's not the Wallace Bridge, this one's only 500 years old. The Wallace Bridge is slightly upstream, but this gives you an impression of the battlefield. And also just above the bridge is Mote Hill, which is where we're going to go next. So final spot, Mote Hill. This is actually my favourite place in Stirling, I reckon. This is an incredible spot. This is a vitrified fort, destroyed probably by the Roman army around 100 AD, 120 AD. Just incredible. Another one of these forts where they set fire to it, and the temperature's so hot and it's maintained for so long that the stones melt and fuse. So what are we looking at? 20, 30 metres diameter, so you can imagine the whole of the hill on fire. So you would see the smoke during the day across the whole of the Forth Valley. Well, Ben Ledi, Ben Lomond, all the way through at Falkirk, Edinburgh, over that side. At night, the giant burning, glowing eye of that fire, that intense burning destruction. An incredible statement of regime change. You have crossed the Romans, you are paid, and we're showing this to everyone across the whole area. Of course, we've also got the beheading stone, the medieval execution block. 1424, Robert, Duke of Albany, and his family were executed here on the orders of James I. They'd attempted a coup, and James is getting rid of them. Looking beyond, you can see Stirling Old Bridge. Again, that's not the bridge that Wallace used. That's slightly upstream a little bit. You can certainly see Stirling Bridge battlefield. It's all over there. This is the spot. You can imagine the English are camped on this side. They're in control of the castle. The friars, those black friars, remember the Dominicans we mentioned? The one that witnessed everything? They're sent to negotiate peace with Wallace. He sends them away, he wants to fight. Wallace's army's actually on Abbey Craig. You can actually see the Wallace monument. If they're not on the top, they're in the slopes. So the English have to cross. Now the English commander, Warren, seems to be quite incompetent. September 1297, the 11th of September. They cross, they take their time crossing. Sometimes change their mind, they come back. There's a bit of coming and going. The bridge is supposedly so narrow that only 2 people can cross at once. So the army cross. And what they do is they assemble in the meander of the Forth. They're surrounded by water on 3 sides. When half the army is over, Wallace and de Murray see their chance and they seize their opportunity. They run down from Abbey Craig. That's over a mile to connect to the battlefield here. They block the bridge, they block the neck of the meander, and they push the English into the river. So the people at the back can't mobilise, they're trying to push forward, the people at the front are pushing back. It's not an army, it's not an organised structure. It's people panicking, so people fall to the ground, people drown in the mud. We think people try to swim across the river, but it's bigger at the time. The river's probably 1 metre, 2 metres deep at high tide. It's probably double the width that you can see at the moment. We think 5,000 people, 5,000 English and Welsh and Scots die, because there are Scots fighting against Wallace, surprisingly. It's more of a civil war at this point. This is the first major victory of the Wars of Independence. The first rising after Scotland was defeated in 1296 at the Battle of Dunbar. It's a short-lived victory though, because in 1298 Wallace is defeated at the Battle of Falkirk. But before we close, I just want you to look at that bridge. And of course it's not that bridge, but I want you to think about troops being hemmed in on that tiny narrow bridge. And I want you to think about one of the English commanders, a guy called Sir Marmaduke de Twenge, who was the keeper of the castle. The castle is under English control, and things were going so badly for Marmaduke that he panicked and he rode through his own men. He fled Wallace, he crossed that bridge, and he came back here and he fled to the castle for safety. If you can imagine a fully mounted knight crossing a narrow bridge, he probably killed everyone that he rode across, his own men. Such was the panic in the English command. And that panic and that anger and that loss are what leads to Edward I's anger at William Wallace. And many of you will know that Wallace is actually specifically excluded from Edward's peace. His capture is actually a condition of the 1304 peace treaty. And that's what leads to him going on the run. He's actually on the run for a year. No one betrays him. And eventually he is betrayed by the Earl of Menteith, and that leads then to his horrific execution at Smithfield. He's tried for treason, and then he's butchered, and he's hung, drawn and quartered. Absolutely horrific, and it's because Edward is so angry at him for this victory here. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the Highland Games, and I hope that you actually come back to Stirling when we're open again. Thank you very much, and bye for now.